getting news now that Navjot Singh Sidhu has resigned as the Congress chief in the state, as the PCC chief. As far as Punjab Congress is concerned, and we have been reporting on this since yesterday. We have been reporting on the fact that there is a deep divide now between the Chief Minister and the PCC chief, and it began with the cabinet berth being given.
Collapse of a man's character stems from the compromise corner. I can never compromise on Punjab's future and the agenda for the welfare of Punjab. Therefore, I hereby resign as the President of Punjab Pradesh Congress Committee, will continue to serve the Congress.
The Congress party has egg on its face. There is simply no other way of saying this. After removing a fairly strong Chief Minister in Captain Amarinder Singh, humiliating him 6 months before an election, trusting someone like a Navjot Singh Sidhu, appointing him as the PPCC chief, now Mr. Sidhu has made a shock exit from the top post. He has resigned exactly 72 days after his appointment, saying that he cannot compromise on his principles. Well, it's not principles, but it is pure politics, which is the reason for Mr. Sidhu's resignation. The fact is that the incumbent Chief Minister, the new Chief Minister, has slowly but surely proven that he is a man of his own mind. And Mr. Sidhu, his plans of controlling this government from the back seat haven't quite worked out. But the bigger embarrassment, and that's why I said the Congress party has egg on its face, the bigger embarrassment is for the Congress leadership, which believed, trusted, and bought everything that Mr. Sidhu pitched, hook, line, and sinker. Can the Congress now save itself from this implosion in Punjab?
मैं नवजोत सिंह सिद्धू सच्चे दिलों प्रतिज्ञा करता हाँ कि मैं कानून द्वारा स्थापित भारत के संविधान के प्रति सच्ची श्रद्धा और निष्ठा रखूंगा।
There seems to be a total upheaval as far as the Congress party in Punjab is concerned. We're getting news now that Navjot Singh Sidhu has resigned as the Congress chief in the state, as the PCC chief.
ਅਸੀਂ ਸਿੱਧੂ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਨਾਲ ਬੈਠ ਕੇ ਗੱਲ ਕਰ ਲਾਂਗੇ। ਸਾਡੇ ਆਨਰੇਬਲ ਪ੍ਰੈਜ਼ੀਡੈਂਟ ਹੈ, ਅੱਛੇ ਲੀਡਰ ਹੈ।
And I say absolutely, I don't do it unless I mean it.
All right, so why exactly did Navjot Singh Sidhu resign as the PCC chief? Ostensibly, the trigger for his resignation was the recent cabinet expansion of the Channi government. He's upset over what he calls tainted appointments. At least 2 appointments he feels were those of people who had corruption charges against them, particularly Rana Gurjeet Singh, who's the mines minister, who had charges against him in the previous administration as well. Mr. Sidhu is tooth and nail opposed to Rana Gurjeet Singh. He's also opposed to APS Diol, a lawyer who's been made as the Advocate General of the state of Punjab. His problem is Mr. APS Diol also represented the Badals in the firing case that happened when the Akali Dal was in power. Number 4, he's also sending a message of no compromise on corruption. He feels that his personal image is his brand equity, and by inducting quote-unquote tainted ministers, his brand equity is getting affected. And number 5, he's also saying that there's been an underrepresentation of his core supporters, that is the Majhabi Sikhs. And that's why Navjot Singh Sidhu, exactly 2.5 months, 72 days after his appointment as PCC chief, has now tendered his resignation. Let me go across to our guest, Pallavi Ghosh. He's senior editor politics, tracking the Congress party for us. RP Singh, spokesperson of the BJP. Rashid Kidwai, veteran journalist who's been tracking the Congress for a number of years. And Kailash Adhikari, MD of governance now, will also be joining us. Pallavi, I'll start with you. I mean, let's be absolutely blunt about it tonight. The Congress leadership, the Gandhis, trusted a man, made him the PCC chief, and on his word and the word of several MLAs, they removed a chief minister who up until 6 months ago was in a fairly strong position. Now, there's no mild way of saying this, the leadership of the Congress party has egg on its face.
Well, Zaka, there are many people who are blaming captain, some are blaming Sidhu, but in all of this, frankly speaking, is a central leadership which comes across very, very bad. There were lots of inputs which was given to the Gandhi siblings, really, Zaka, about Navjot Singh Sidhu. And it came in not just from the captain, but it also came in from several other MLAs and also leaders at the center. And in fact, some of those who were associated with the Aam Aadmi Party at one point of time and also the BJP, very specifically that he's a man who should not be trusted. But so much was a level of distrust between the Gandhi siblings and, say, a captain that they refused to believe these inputs and they blindly went in and appointed someone like a Navjot Singh Sidhu when there were others like, say, a Pratap Singh Bajwa, for example, who has been a PCC chief earlier. See, a PCC chief's role in an election-bound state becomes very, very critical, Zaka, because they have to keep the party together. And that person also has to be a politically very shrewd politician in that sense. So Navjot Singh Sidhu, many argue, did not fit into that kind of a role, and therefore you're making him a PCC chief and someone who was very open about the fact that his ambition was to become a chief minister. You know, you steal his thunder by appointing a Dalit as a CM, and of course this assurance was given to Sidhu that after elections, if the Congress wins, then of course we are going to reward you because you get the credit and you're going to be made the chief minister. But the problem over here is that I think Sidhu and his supporters also saw through it, and it would become very difficult to get rid of Channi should the Congress party win under his CMship. Because first of all, he's a Dalit. You're going to open yourself to these kind of accusations, which you're already getting, that you're using the Dalit card for your own political purpose. And therefore, I think Sidhu saw through that game, and therefore you're seeing the situation what you are at this point of time.
No, but by doing what he is doing, he has not only, squared the chances, if any, his party had of getting another mandate. He spoiled it for himself as well. Now, why should the people of Punjab take him seriously? RP Singh, but be that as it may, today, the man who is having the last laugh, as it were, is Captain Amarinder Singh. He tweeted, he landed at the Delhi airport and he said the same thing. I told you so. I told you that this is not a man who you can trust Punjab with. Now, my question to you, sir, is what is Captain Amarinder Singh doing in Delhi? Because there is word we are getting that he could possibly meet with your party's leadership. He could possibly meet with Mr. JP Nadda, your party president, Mr. Amit Shah, the Home Minister. So are you now going to roll out the red carpet for Captain Amarinder Singh?
Well, Zaka, that question should go to Captain Amarinder Singh, not to me. And Captain was the right person to answer that. But yes, things change. I mean, if I go by your theory or your thesis that he was coming to meet Amit Shah and Nadda ji, then while he landed here, by that time Sidhu has resigned. So probably, I don't know what went through his mind, what was in his mind. We have no knowledge of that.
No, but RP Saab, first of all, everybody knows you know a thing or two about Punjab politics, particularly what's happening in the Punjab BJP.
No, I was in charge of Punjab affairs.
Let's be very clear. Captain cannot go back to the Congress. Captain cannot join the Aam Aadmi Party. Captain definitely can't join the Akalis. Then where does he go? There's only one option, right?
No, again, Zaka is the call of captain. But
of course.
Let's understand what happened today. Let's take another second. What happened today? A man who was seen as a man who's a nationalist, he was humiliated.
Yeah.
And man who's seen as anti-nationalist, I'm not saying whether he's not, that the court has to decide that Tukdi gang Kanhaiya Kumar has been elected. So this is the irony of the Congress party, and then this shows how weak the Congress party leadership is. That anyone can stand up and do whatever they want to do.
No, I agree. I agree with you, which is what I told Pallavi as well. If there's any person or any entity that's come across as a complete loser in this entire episode, more than perhaps Mr. Sidhu, it's the people who placed their entire faith on this gentleman. And that Rashid Kidwai, there is no way of, beating around the bush. It has to be about the Gandhis. It has to be the Congress leadership. Because like you rightly said in the last show, a Harish Rawat or a KC Venugopal could not have made Mr. Sidhu the PCC chief. It was a decision taken by the leadership. And now this has come back to bite them. They have to take responsibility for it, Rashid.
So by Priyanka,
definitely. Zaka, as I said, see, your assessment is fine, but perhaps your conclusion is not correct because it's unfolding. We do not know what will happen next. See, in Punjab Congress, there are forces of status quo and forces of change within the Congress. That kind of tussle is going on. Congress will go with the majority opinion. I mean, I'm talking about Gandhis. So let's see how it plays out. See, the Congress and Sidhu are still occupying the center stage of Punjab politics. To say that, the BJP and Amarinder can team up, it reminds me of a time when, in Tamil Nadu, Congress had gone alone and tied up with the, Tamil Manila Congress consisting of G.K. Mupnar and P. Chidambaram. I remember I asked Mani Shankar Iyer, how will it add up? He said, what is 0 plus 0? So we must gauge the political strength of political parties and not take, our own view on it.
Okay, no. Once again, we are a long way off from crossing that bridge. If at all, Captain Amarinder Singh, has some form of understanding with the BJP. But be that as it may, I'm getting a piece of breaking news because this is now beginning to really start to hurt the Congress party. Sunil Jakhar, who was again in contention to be Chief Minister, was denied because he's not a Sikh. He has tweeted that it's not just cricket. What stands compromised in this entire episode is faith in the outgoing PCC president by the Congress leadership. No amount of grandstanding can justify this breach of trust, placing his benefactors in a peculiar predicament. Who are these benefactors, Pallavi? Everybody knows who these benefactors are. And Mr. Jakhar is right, and nobody will blame him for, twisting the knife right now because he may feel rightfully he should have been the chief minister. He was denied on whatever grounds he was denied. But right now, when he says the benefactors of Mr. Sidhu should be more embarrassed about this than Mr. Sidhu himself, he's right. He's absolutely right, Pallavi.
It's a complete mess, actually, Jakhar. And look at Sunil Jakhar. He was at one point of time handpicked by the captain, made the PCC chief because the captain did not want Pratap Singh Bajwa as the PCC chief. So Bajwa was replaced by Sunil Jakhar. Sunil Jakhar was pro-captain, but when he saw the tide turning, he decided to switch over to Navjot Singh Sidhu. He thought he's going to become the chief minister. He didn't become the chief minister, so he's very angsty about it. And today, of course, he goes back to attacking Navjot Singh Sidhu. So we don't even know who's standing on which side at this point of time. Over here in the national capital, we have a captain and Amarinder Singh obviously saying, I told you so. And he's going to keep on hammering this at the top Congress leadership, which is why I'm just going back to the point and agreeing with you, Zaka. We may attack Navjot Singh Sidhu, call him Matlabi, say he broke the trust. We can attack Captain Amarinder Singh for his style of working. But at the end of the day, this is just a pure reflection of what's gone wrong as far as decision making is concerned. But beyond that, I think this is just a political, Punjab was a different case. Yeah. Punjab was one state which does not seem to be having a strong BJP over there. So BJP was not a strong contender. Second, it was a state where at least the Congress looks to be winning. And we are talking around a good 4 months back. Everything has changed. At this point of time, why would a voter want to vote for a party which does not even know where it stands? Who are the MLAs? Who's going to get the ticket? Who's going to be contesting from which political parties? Even as we speak, the meeting is going on at Navjot Singh Sidhu's residence in Patiala. I am told some more leaders may quit. He's clearly putting pressure on the central leadership.
No, so what we know is at least 5 leaders, 5 supporters of Navjot Singh Sidhu, which includes, I think, a couple of sitting ministers as well in this cabinet, have all resigned. Obviously, they're doing it at his behest, wanting to put pressure on the High Command. But Kailash Adhikari, I can't think of anybody gaining from this other than the Akalis, because by default, they are the biggest opposition party in Punjab. And perhaps the Aam Aadmi Party, who knows? Maybe the people of Punjab want to give them a chance. And this mess that has happened within the Congress, shooting itself in the foot, the only people who can derive some benefit out of it are either the Akalis or the Aam Aadmi Party.
Saka, I'd like to mention that the only people to lose out here are the citizens of Punjab. What happens is that, I've mentioned on your show also many times that Congress needs strong introspection at the current time. As mentioned by the lady in the panel, that Punjab was the only state where naturally Congress had a good amount of vote in the assembly, and it could be a poster boy if proper administration would have run, a strong government could have run for 2024 for Congress. But I believe that the Congress leadership does not, look into the fact that it needs to project itself as a united self. What is happening is that when Captain Amarinder Singh was chosen into power, Congress was chosen into power into Punjab after so much anti-incumbency of the previous government, they had a golden chance. And now they're just giving away the golden chance.
No, so Captain Amarinder Singh tweeted, I think an hour or so back, and it was a pretty, a cryptic tweet or prophetic. Let's see, depending on how the outcome plays itself out. But RP Singh, captain, basically said that this is all just drama. Sidhu is just laying the ground to leave the Congress party. He did not say where he thinks Sidhu might go. Do you believe it's possible that Sidhu might be setting the ground to leave Congress and join the Aam Aadmi Party?
Well, you should ask this to Rashid Kadwai. He's the spokesperson of the Congress today in your panel. He's the best man to answer the question which you asked me. But anyhow, see, Sidhu has no room left now. I mean, I doubt Aam Aadmi Party will entertain him. And then he has no room left. He's just trying to push his way through because he thinks he can manage things through remote control. He wanted to manage things through remote control, and he thought Charanjit Singh will be managed that way. But Channi will be managed that way, and Channi refused to go by his diktat. And then that's the reason. And then if you know, shall I tell you the real reason? The real reason is the message from the High Command through Mr. Rawat, Harish Rawat, who said that Sidhu will be the face. So man thought, I am going to be the next minister. This is that night watchman. So let me do what I want to do. He has to play or not play. I'll decide whether which ball he to hit. I'll decide. So that is not happening. So
no. So what you're saying, RP Singh, is that the night watchman went on to make a half century. That's what Mr. Channi did.
No. He not half century. He don't movement half century. He says that I'll be the next opener also.
Okay. Rashid Kidwai, I mean, we have seen Indian politics is full of curious examples of people who are absolutely, unexpected sort of dark horses being thrust into a job and then went on to thrive. Most notably, I mean, I'll give you the example of Manmohan Singh. I don't think in 2004 anybody expected, when the Congress won and the UPA won, anybody expected Manmohan Singh would be appointed as Prime Minister. And he did. He did for 10 years.
Absolutely. I think, Zaka, a lot depends upon the outcome. I mean, Mr. Chandi's career, or for the better, Congress, and as long as Sidhu is part of Congress, it all depends. They need to win this election. Only when they win election, then this whole talk will be there, who will be the chief minister and what will be the role of key players, etc. So I think Mr. Sidhu understands it. Look, from Sidhu's point of view, if you analyze it in a very objective manner, what is he saying? He wanted, some kind of an element of probity, some kind of, action against Akalis. All this is political agenda. When his political agenda is not being fulfilled, it seems to be compromised. He has taken a stand. And I think Gandhis will see this and there will be some kind of outcome in the next 48 hours or so.
1 second. Let's be very clear. Him taking a stand and him pressing the nuclear button are two different things. In politics, as you very well know, Rashid, no, 1 second. There are pushes and pulls. No, there are pushes and pulls. Sometimes the PCC chief does not get his entire way. Sometimes the chief minister does not get his entire way. You learn to make compromises, right? That politics at the end of the day is the art of compromising. And it's not like Mr. Sidhu has not compromised in the past. Let's be very clear about that, right? If you have to be in politics, you need to make some compromises. So this whole Rana Gurjeet example, no, 1 second. Can I just give me 10 seconds? This whole Rana Gurjeet example, saying that he's a tainted minister, corruption charges against him. He's not the first minister in Punjab who's had corruption charges against him. I can understand the APS Diol case because him being, elevated as Advocate General, same person represented, the Badals in the firing case as their advocate. Yes, there is some sentiment associated there. But to say probity and I can't compromise, a man's character starts falling when he starts compromising. Come on, let's be clear.
Absolutely. No, Zaka, I'm with you. I'm with you. These are postures, similar postures that were adopted by, Arvind Kejriwal at one point of time, by VP Singh by another point of time. These things happened. What I'm saying is, let's not be, too judgmental. I think we need to decide about Gandhis. Are Gandhis autocrats or they're Democrats? Should they be deciding who should be the police, chief or
I don't know about whether they're autocrats or Democrats. Point is, they made a sitting chief minister, they made him weak, they removed him, they trusted somebody else in his place, and today their judgment stands exposed. That's all I'm saying. Pallavi, that is the limited point that I'm making. Yes, it's bad enough for Mr. Sidhu, bad enough for Mr. Channi's government, but I think the ultimate loser in this is the person who decided to install Mr. Sidhu in the first place. And I'm
I
not
don't
taking
agree
names. I'm
with-
not taking names.
I can't agree. I'm sorry with Rashid at all. I mean, because we've been covering this story and we are there on the ground, and I see the reactions of many leaders who don't want to come on camera and say it. And I'm not talking about the so-called G23. I'm also talking about many others who were telling us today that, we just don't understand what's happening. They say that, it's okay you want to change the leadership in the state level. It is okay you want to have a new face. That's
All right, we lost the audio with Pallavi. We'll go back. Yes, RP Singh, you wanted to make a point.
No. I'm shocked at Mr. Rashid Kadwai's point of whether there's democracy or not. I mean, surely there's no democracy. He was anointed by the Rahul Gandhi and Priyanka Vatra, and then a message was sent across to everyone that you fall in line or we won't give you tickets in coming elections. And that's why the 78 members, MLAs got together. But how many will stay together? Just wait for some more time. And then, Kadwai Sahab, let me tell you today, and then I'll come to the show on 1st December. Mark my word, BJP will be a big player in Punjab.
Why? What is going to happen, RP Singh? What is going to happen? What is it that you know that none of us do?
Open my strategy. I said by 30th November things will change in Punjab, and this 0-0 combination will become 100. I don't know which other zero you're talking about, but we will score good in Punjab this time. Mark my word.
Okay, let's see how that happens. But I want to come back to Kailash Adhikari, and this is happening on the same day, Kailash. Mr. Sidhu leaves at 2 o'clock. And then by 5 o'clock, the Congress party inducts Kanhaiya Kumar and Jignesh Mavani. Now, nothing wrong with that. The Congress party is free to induct whoever they want. But by doing so, they have given the BJP another issue on the platter. Now, the BJP is going to go to town during the upcoming UP elections, Punjab elections, saying, look, the Congress party is standing with the so-called Tukde gang. They've given another issue on a platter to the BJP.
Absolutely. They're just giving issues on such platter. Now, inducting Kanhaiya Kumar, it's the right of the Congress party, whomever they want to induct, as you rightly mentioned. But a person who has given out such anti-national statements and that is out there into the open, and inducting them into the party while at the point of time where your Punjab Congress chief resigned, it does not send a good message out. And it definitely raises a question in the mind of the citizen, that the voters, that what is this party actually trying to achieve in the coming future? With regards to Kanhaiya Kumar, one thing is also that he's coming from the leftist. And if you look back at the history, Zaka, when late Shri Indira Gandhi ji was ruling the nation before 1971, yes, there was a leaning of Congress towards the left. But after 1971, it also dawned upon them that it is not this policy that will lead the country economically forward.
Correct.
And that her successors, be it her own son, P.V. Narasimha Rao Sahab, or even Dr. Manmohan Singh ji, they followed the modernization principle. Now Congress going back to the leftist with the leftist approach with the induction of Kanhaiya Kumar or Mr. Mevani is just not fathomable.
No, I think, yes, Kailash is right, Rashid. I mean, what you're going to see is an extreme leftward sort of tilt to the Congress party. And remember, this is the party of reforms. This is the party of 1991. This is the party that introduced economic liberalization in this country. I mean, no party should be stretched so far out left that it stops recognizing what it was.
Yes, Zaka, very quickly, two things. First of all, the Congress and left have a long history. I mean, the left is considered as a natural ally of the Congress from 1969 to 1991 to 2004, 3 occasions. The government was actively backed by the left parties or elements in the left, and that played a very big role in shaping of Indira Gandhi's all those Garibi Hatao policies, etc. That is one thing. Second thing is, it is up to every political party, because assessment, I'm not endorsing it. I am saying the Congress empowered, the great Indian middle class with economic reforms of Dr. Manmohan Singh, P.V. Narasimha Rao, and to some extent by Rajiv Gandhi. Now that section of society for political reasons has turned against the Congress. So Congress is looking for newer pastures, and they are looking for unemployed youth,
look at
disgruntled farmers.
the sequence of events. No, one second. I think Jitin Prasada put out that tweet.
Why are we losing our shirt?
No, one second. Jitin Prasada put out that tweet, and he sort of put out the sequence of events. First, you oust an army veteran, sitting chief minister, you oust him. Then you, trust her. No, one second. This is what he said. This is what he said. This is not my words. This is what he said. Then you foist on the state as PCC chief somebody who goes to Pakistan and hugs the Pakistani general. And today you induct people that the BJP calls part of the Tukde gang. Now, Pallavi, is that not giving an issue on a sitting platter to a ruling party, which is basically just, eating the Congress party alive. I mean, they are decimating the Congress party virtually state after state.
Yes, Zaka. And if you listen to a press conference which was taking place today of Kanhaiya Kumar, and we were very much there, and we kept on asking him a question, and all that he was doing was completely bashing the Prime Minister. Now, history has shown, and of late, personal comments on the Prime Minister are going to come on completely boomerang on you. But I tell you what, the Congress's official reaction to why they inducted Kanhaiya Kumar, they are saying he's no longer left leader. He should not be associated with Jawaharlal Nehru University. He is someone who belongs to the Hindi heartland and someone who actually belongs to a light caste combination, is a Bhumihar, and therefore is going to help us connect with the people. What is the problem and the paucity in the Congress at this point of time? They don't have a great speaker. They don't have someone who can connect with the crowds immediately. Say the way Narendra Modi can, or say even a Mamata Banerjee, or even an Abhishek Banerjee is able to do so, and an Arvind Kejriwal. In the Congress party, the top three Gandhi leadership are not considered to be great orators, barring to a certain extent, I would say, Priyanka Gandhi Vadra. So they wanted someone to occupy that space. Second, they want someone who can actually, the so-called Aam Aadmi image. Rashid was talking about the Congress always having an equation with the left, and he said all that changed. Actually, all that came back. Sonia Gandhi's National Advisory Council, her food bill, all of that was in a sense a return of the left, and that was carried on by Rahul Gandhi. His obvious leaving to say Apurva Anand, who's a professor of DU and very much known for his left thoughts, Sitaram Yechuri being his advisors. So there is a left touch to the Congress party, the tilt. Even Priyanka Gandhi Vadra's secretary, Sandeep Singh, has been a president of ISA, and which is, kind of an ultra-radical wing of the student wing of CPI-ML. So these are the people who are now associated with the Congress party, and many in private talk about the fact they don't want this Jhola, NGO tag or kind of Congress leadership. We want someone who can hit the ground. We need to be aggressive. And in Kanhaiya Kumar, Rahul Gandhi thinks. In fact, very quickly before I come back to you, even as I speak to you now, the Congress has now officially released a YouTube video ushering in the entry of Kanhaiya Kumar, where they have these old pictures of Rahul Gandhi welcoming him and Kanhaiya Kumar mixing around with the crowd inside the AICC headquarters.
It saddens me to say this, that when the history of the UPA is written, one of the high points, they had many low points, but one of the high points was when Manmohan Singh staked his government, staked his own survival on the Indo-US nuclear deal. And both Rashid and Pallavi have been around long enough to know which side the left was on at that time and which side the Congress party was on at that time. And I think that's historic. Let's be clear. It's sad that today's Congress party does not recognize that, or is simply not in any shape or form resembling that Congress party and that Manmohan Singh's party, who staked a government and his very survival on a nuclear deal because he felt that that's the right direction for the country. RP Singh, I'll give you the final word. I come back to the simple question, sir. Are you rolling out the red carpet for Amarinder Singh? And what is this cryptic thing that you have told us that after November 30th, everything will change? What is so special about November 30th?
Well, I said November 30th, we need 2 months, and then our party is working on ground, and then just wait. And narratives change. I mean, now she understands this. So, Captain was coming to Delhi. We don't know whom he wanted to meet or doesn't want to meet, but he later on said, no, he just come to pick up his stuff. So narratives change every moment. So let's wait for 2 months. Narrative will change in Punjab. And
One second. Are you saying that Captain was initially coming to meet somebody in Delhi, and then when the Sidhu news happened, he decided to have a different sort of, he changed his mind?
Could be. I mean, I'm not saying as a BJP man. I'm just saying as a political animal that it could be. But Jaka, one thing is clear. That Congress leadership, the dining table leadership, has proven weak. It has proven that they can't take decisions. They are not worthy of taking decisions, and their decisions which take always fall back. I mean, they are crumbling on those decisions are crumbling down.
I got to wrap up. All I'll say is this: 6 months ago, the Congress party was in numero uno position to win another mandate in Punjab. They had a fairly strong chief minister. There was anger against the farm laws. They were happy to ride on top of that anger. How things have changed in the last 6 months, and the Congress party has no one else but itself to blame for this mess. That's a wrap. I'll catch you again tomorrow night, same time. Good night.